Hey guys, I am out on the Himalayan today. I was heading out to take some pictures of the bike and do a walk around, but then my neighbors were heading out at the same time and they invited me along to come with them. So I think we're going up towards Fountain Hills, Arizona. It's always a nice destination, so figured what the heck. Wow, what a beautiful day out today. This is pretty much the same route that I went on last weekend. I mean, I could ride this route every week and not get tired of it. I mean, look at these views. But this is only, I think, the third time that I've been out on this bike. And, you know, I'm still getting used to it, but I'm really impressed with it. Every time I ride it, I'm just more and more impressed with the quality that you get for the price. Now, of course, there's still room for improvement. Maybe the next model out will refine this a little bit more, but I really can't complain for the price point. I mean, this thing rides nicer and the fit and finish is better than bikes that I've had that were $1,000 or $2,000 more than this. Basically, everything that matters is good on this bike. So the other stuff that could be improved, it's really not anything that's going to be a deal breaker, at least for me. But going through some twisties here, you know, the bike is very capable. The suspension is great. The engine isn't super exciting, not like on my Suzuki GSX 8S, but, you know, you wouldn't expect that from this kind of bike. Like that bike I would take out here to enjoy the twisties and twist the throttle a little bit, you know. This bike, I'm coming out here and looking and focusing more at the scenery, just enjoying the ride. You know, it's like just a casual type of riding style. I wouldn't call it agricultural, but it's definitely not sporty. I mean, it just chugs on along, doing its thing. We'll have to see how reliable, you know, this bike is after a couple years, you know, being a newer model here, but I don't expect to have any long-term issues with this, honestly. So far on this bike, I've done a couple highway runs and it's completely capable. I didn't have any trouble getting up to 75 or 80 miles per hour. I would say that it probably doesn't have a lot of passing power after that point. That power kind of rolls off at the top there. But I would say it's perfectly acceptable. I wouldn't have any issue riding like a longer ride on a highway as long as you weren't expected to do 90 miles an hour. And the fueling on this bike is actually very good. The throttle by wire is dialed in pretty nicely on here. Slower speed maneuvers and stuff like that, it doesn't feel real herky-jerky. This more of a higher speed section of road here. This is one point where the weight of the bike actually helps out the ride quality quite a bit. I've been on some other bikes, like a few of the bikes I've had actually were almost uncomfortable to ride on this stretch of road over here just because of the crosswinds. It unsettled the bike so much that I was white knuckling it through here. I mean, that was early on in my riding career, to be honest, but that doesn't mean it wasn't true though. So the weight of the bike and the aerodynamics plays a huge part in how comfortable a bike is on the open road like this. So the break-in period on this bike is 300 miles before you're supposed to take it in for its first service. So, you know, I'm going to kind of do a few short rides like this on the weekends just to get those miles in so I can get the initial oil change done. After that, I plan on doing the servicing on my own. For the most part, I mean, I'll take it in for valve adjustments and stuff like that, but basic oil changes I can handle. But so far so good. I mean, the engine temperature is showing 140 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's not even halfway up the gauge here. We'll have to see how this handles 115 degree Fahrenheit weather out here in Arizona this summer. See how high the engine temp gets at that point. But so far this bike is really nice for casual weekend rides like this. This is exactly what I bought it for. Well, this has been a nice ride out today. I'm not going to introduce my neighbors out of respect for their privacy, but I really appreciate that they invited me along to ride out with them to lunch today. So I just hit 100 miles on this bike, and it's showing an estimate of 70.5 miles per gallon. I don't know how accurate that is. I've heard that this is pretty accurate on this bike from other people that have done more extensive testing. I still have 3/4 of a tank left from the dealership, so I have yet to fill this up. The fuel mileage isn't super important to me. I know it's pretty efficient, so I don't really need to know the exact numbers, honestly. Yeah, you can definitely tell it's a thumper. I think it sounds great though. Like, honestly, I don't think I'm going to be replacing this exhaust on here. Alright, it's the next weekend and I'm back on the Himalayan, heading back out towards the mountains here, so I can hopefully finally get some pictures of this new bike. The goal is to head out towards Tortilla Flat. Don't know if I'll make it all the way there. Depends on how the roads are. If it's really congested, I might just turn around and come back. But if it's fun riding, I might go all the way through. Yeah, this bike takes a little while to get up to speed, but once it gets going, it's fine. I actually really appreciate how the gearing is set up on here. I think for what the bike is designed for, they did a great job. Now, if you're wondering why there are a ton of bikes out today, it's because it is April 4th as I'm recording this, and we are right in the middle of Arizona Bike Week. So let's do a quick walk around. Now this is the 2025 Royal Enfield Himalayan in Camet White, and the MSRP is $6,099 US. I got this for about $5,800, so got a little bit of a deal on it. But this one is kind of hard to get. I got lucky that somebody had placed an order for it, and when they saw this in person, they just decided not to pick it up. So I got the one with the tubeless tires on here. So for that price, I think I got a really good deal. So the seat height goes from 32.5 inches to 33.1 inches. I had this on the high setting when I first got it, but it felt like the seat was kind of leaning me forward a little bit. Up towards the tank, so I ended up switching this to the low position, and it feels much more comfortable to me, at least. It feels more like I'm in the bike instead of on the bike. That extra little bit of adjustment was really helpful. The seat comfort itself, I'd say I get tired of sitting in it after about an hour, so I am going to explore the aftermarket seats for this particular bike. So the ground clearance in the Royal Enfield user manual lists this at 8.8 inches or 224 millimeters, but a lot of other sources that I've seen online list this at 9.1 or 230 millimeters. So I'm not sure what the exact number is, but let's just say the ground clearance is around 9 inches. The weight is 432 pounds or 196 kilogram. Now the front tire on this is a 21-inch CEAT, I believe it's pronounced, C-E-A-T, and it's called the grip tire. It's a 90 by 90 by 21. So far, the tires seem pretty confidence-inspiring. They don't feel squirmy. They tend to be more road-focused, so I'll give more of a report once I use them a little bit longer. The rear tire is also a CEAT grip, and this one is a 140 by 80 by 17. The engine is a Royal Enfield's Sherpa 452cc single cylinder. Max power is 40 horsepower at 8,000 RPM and 40 newton meters of torque at 5,500 RPM. I think that comes out to around 29.5 foot-pounds. Now the fueling on here is fuel injection, and it does have ride-by-wire throttle. It's got a 17-liter or 4.5 US gallon gas tank. Transmission is a 6-speed with shift and assist clutch. The transmission does have a prominent click when changing gears. It's super easy to find neutral, and the gearing is excellent in my opinion. Now the chassis on here is a steel twin-spar tubular frame with a removable subframe. It does look like it bolts on over here, so if you took damage on the back, you'd be able to disconnect that and replace it. For the suspension, we have Showa 43mm upside-down non-adjustable forks in the front. And for the rear, we have a Showa monoshock with preload adjustment only. The suspension travel front and back is 7.9 inches or 200 millimeters. As I mentioned earlier, these wheels on here are the tubeless spoked. And the front disc on here is 320 millimeter. And for the front brake, we have an axial mounted bi-bray 2-piston caliper. For the rear brakes, we have a 270 millimeter disc, which is quite large. I think the standard is like a 240. And then we've got a bi-bray single piston caliper. And the rear brakes on here are actually really good. I would say the rear is probably stronger than the front brakes. For the lighting, we have all LED. The rear brakes do not have a dedicated, center brake light. They are combined brake lights and turn signals. Here's a look at the front light. I kind of like the shape of that. It kind of gives it that classic Himalayan look, but modern features. For the display, we have a 4-inch color TFT with smartphone connectivity and built-in sat-nav using the Tripper Dash phone app. And on the handlebar here, we have a pre-installed USB-C charging port. For left side controls, we have the high beam, low beam, and flashing. We've got your turn signal switch here and the horn. We have this joystick for navigation, which is not very great in my opinion. I do not like the joystick. And then finally, on the back side of the left control, we have the home button. For the right side, we have the engine ignition kill switch button, and we have a mode button here. The mode button can be used to switch between different engine mappings. There are eco and performance, as well as the ability to switch off ABS for each of the modes. So there's 4 modes total, sort of. Not really. There's 2 modes, and then there's ABS on and off for each one. So there's 4 items to select from, basically. Finally, on the right side control, we have the hazard switch on the back side of the control. So that's pretty much the walk around, guys. I think Royal Enfield did a great job on this one. Plus the fact that they include stuff that manufacturers normally charge extra for, like the tank guard here, or the center stand that comes stock on here. Looking at some of the other accessories that come on the bike, I did actually order a couple. They're reasonably priced too. So if you're interested in this bike, I will be doing future videos for a couple of the accessory installs. I'm going to put a top box on here and probably a lower engine guard. A couple accessories, maybe the front bags that attach to the tank guard. I think those would be useful. Anyway, stay tuned, stick around if you're interested. So now for my critical observations. I'm being really nitpicky here, so forgive me if I mention stuff that isn't a big deal. But first off, we have the levers here. They're non-adjustable. The side stand on this bike is really short. The bike leans drastically to the left-hand side, and it's a pretty hefty bike, so it's got some weight to it when it leans over. So being throttled by wire, you would expect it to be fairly easy to put cruise control on this bike, but it does not have cruise control. And they consider this a travel bike, so they're going to expect you to do some road miles on here. So I'm not sure why they left out the cruise control. It seems like a miss, in my opinion. Another thing I'm going to list as a negative is this little joystick. It's just really fiddly. Sometimes you have to press it multiple times in the same direction to get the menu to go where you want it to go. It just doesn't seem very consistent. A couple other things is that the built-in navigation to your phone works fairly well. Like the phone paired up to the dash really quickly, but in order to use the navigation, you've got to keep your phone unlocked, and the phone battery just takes a really heavy toll. Like my phone was heating up and draining battery super fast when I had it on there. It is nice. It'll display the maps like right up on the screen. So If you're someone who's going to mount a phone for navigation to your handlebars anyway, it's probably a no-brainer. I think it's a nice addition. You don't have to use it if you don't want to, but just something I thought I would mention. The mirrors on this bike, they work well enough. I mean, they don't vibrate or anything like that. The image behind you is really clear. They just feel really close to the rider, and they're really small. I would have appreciated if the viewing angle was a little bit wider. All right, getting to the end of the list here. So the power on here, it's great for cruising. You can go 75, 80 miles an hour without any problem. But once you get up to that speed, overtaking other traffic is going to be pretty difficult. It doesn't have a lot of power on tap once you get to that speed. So just something to keep in mind. This is capable for highway stuff, but I would feel more comfortable personally on like slower roads and, kind of off-road kind of stuff. My last little note is that the brakes could be a little bit better. I would prefer if the front brake had a caliper at each side. Due to the weight of the bike, it would be really helpful. Again, I mentioned that the back brakes feel really good. The fronts could be better. They feel okay. The braking strength is all right. They just feel a little soft, a little bit vague at times. It doesn't have a lot of bite to it. I think another disc and caliper up front would have made a huge difference to the braking feel on here. This is incredible, guys. I have never seen this amount of bike traffic out here, ever. I like to take every new bike out here just to see how it handles the twisties, and this one's doing really exceptionally well. Now, the only bike I never took out here was the Livewire, because honestly I'm not sure if the battery will make it. I think it will. I have yet to risk it though, so I still want to take that bike out here because I know it'll be a lot of fun. It's kind of why I bought this bike. I got the Himalayan because I'm not going to be restricted by range issues. But this is kind of this bike's element, you know? Not super fast, but it's really smooth. The suspension and the handling are doing awesome. Just a great ride out today. So the deal with Tortilla Flat, personally, is I like the journey. It's not so much about the destination. I honestly usually just turn the bike around and head back as soon as I get there. I've never actually been in any of the buildings over there. Today it's probably really busy. Anyway, guys, my battery is almost dead here, so just in case, I'm going to record my outro now. I'd like to thank you guys for coming along with me on this new bike journey. And if the Royal Enfield Himalayan is a bike that you're interested in seeing more of, then consider subscribing, because I will be doing other content, weekend rides and parts upgrades. So if you're interested in any of that kind of stuff, then I will see you guys on future videos. Yeah, today's one of those turn around and go back home days, for sure.